All righty. Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon, good slightly morning, depending on where you are in the world right now. But great to see everybody. My name is James. I'm the Associate Director with Long Beach Forward, and I am also part of our 2020 census team working on the We Count Long Beach and LA campaign. Super excited to have you join us, and thanks for tuning in to watch our Census Week of Action team interview. We're excited to share a little bit about what's been going on with not over just this week, but also our We Count campaign overall. I'm excited to share some stories, laugh a little bit, put some smiles on people's faces, and talk about why the census has been so critical and truly like amazing. If you've ever talked to me in person or over Zoom about the census, like I constantly reflect about how amazing that we've been able to pull off this effort in the midst of a global pandemic, and then all of these uprisings and just all of this kind of turmoil, even with this administration. So I'm super excited that you all will get a chance to meet and hear from our census team, who have been the amazing folks and organizers behind the scenes, pulling off everything and literally making this campaign run. So thank you for joining us. This is part of our countywide week of action. It's going on with the We Count LA campaign. So simultaneously as we're doing this, there are partners in Long Beach and throughout in the, all the other parts of LA County that aren't as cool as Long Beach. Sorry, gotta say that. But that are lifting up the census work and ensuring that hard to count communities and that everyone, regardless of whether you're Black, Latinx, Cambodian, Filipino, white, or when you're a renter, LGBTQ, or immigrants, that you are all counted in the 2020 census. So it's super exciting. A little bit, if you're not familiar with Long Beach Forward, we are a nonprofit community organization here in Long Beach, California, that focuses on building community knowledge, leadership, and power with low-income communities of color. And we do this because we really believe that race and income shouldn't determine one's future in Long Beach. And we want our community to be some place that is safe, connected, and healthy for people to live. And so for us, the census is one of those pieces that really brings it all together and ties it all together. So that's why we've engaged in the census and been part of the We Count campaign, and excited to share that a little bit about, share that with you all. If you're not familiar with the awesome We Count campaign logo behind me, we have our collaborative effort amongst community-based organizations who are trusted messengers to reach these hard to count populations across LA County. So the work that we're doing here in Long Beach is also happening in other places like the San Gabriel Valley, San Fernando Valley, Southeast LA, Antelope Valley, Metro LA, South LA as well, and the South Bay area. So there is a lot of work to really ensure that hard to count communities are counted in the census and are part of that participation to build long-term power. So we're really excited to talk more about our campaign, all the things that we've been doing for literally like the last year, and all of this work leading up to this moment that we're in with the census. So I'm really excited, and I want to introduce you to the rest of our team that have joined us on this call to have a chat and talk about and yarn about the We Count campaign. So I'll pass it off to the team to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Adriana Valencia Wences, and I am the Census Program Coordinator with Long Beach Forward. I've been working on this campaign since October of last year and have had the pleasure of connecting with so many different community-based organizations in partnership to make sure that all these different communities within Long Beach and across LA County are counted. My pronouns are she, hers.
Hi, I'm Amy. I've been working with the We Count Long Beach campaign since January of this year. I am the Census Fellow for Long Beach Forward, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, everyone. I am Christian. I've been the Census Fellow at Long Beach Forward since like March or April, and I'm really excited to talk to everybody about like how our census campaign is and stuff.
Hi everyone, my name is Diana. I'm the communications assistant. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm really excited to be talking to you all today.
Hi, everybody. Hello, I'm Melissa Morgan. I'm the Communications Director for Long Beach Forward, and you can't have a campaign without communications. So I'm excited to be part of this team and this amazing effort to get counted.
That is right. Love our communications team. And I have to tell you all, like, I can't remember. So I've been at Long Beach Forward 6 years now. And this is like been, don't tell any of our other coworkers. And hopefully they're not watching right now, but I've absolutely loved working with this team. And I'm really going to be sad when this campaign ends. But without further ado, I want to get into our chat. And we've been talking a little bit before doing this about like what this week of action means and leading up to it, some of the things we wanted to highlight. And so, one of the pieces that I mentioned earlier is that this week count campaign and leading up to this week has been about building collaboration amongst trusted messengers such as like community-based organizations, not just with Long Beach Forward, but our partners like the United Cambodian Community, the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition, and so many others to get hard to count communities counted, right? And we know that there's been a lot of efforts around in the past around census counts, but we knew there was an uphill battle with this count. And so, one question I have for our team is just how has collaboration with trusted messengers been so critical to getting hard to count communities counted? And I know y'all got some good examples to share too.
Yeah, definitely. I'll start by sharing. I feel like the role of being a trusted messenger to the community includes the community being able to see familiar faces that they can relate and trust. For example, Long Beach Forward strives to achieve diversity with our community partners, and we are able to collaborate with partners that directly support Latinx, Black, South Asian, Cambodian, Filipino, seniors, and the LGBTQ plus community. I think if the hard to count population is able to hear the message from someone that they can identify, relate to, they're more likely to being open to hearing the message, asking for assistance, and therefore being involved in the census. For example, on July 17th, we executed a caravan in the downtown central Long Beach area. This area is known for having a high Cambodian population. And as Long Beach Forward, we were able to plan this event knowing that and basing it around being able to provide messages and information in English, Spanish, and Khmer. Actually, from that caravan, a U.S. Census Bureau representative actually recognized our efforts and was able to tell us that we were the only organization from the We Count LA group that was able to include more than one or two populations, which was like the English and Spanish that most other We Count LA organizations did it. So it's just more rewarding knowing that we're able to reach more people and just include them, just because that's not something that everybody else can do, and having the access to do it, it's just so much better for them. And we're also able to just reach more people and hopefully get them counted in the census.
That's awesome. And I think that highlights like a really important point around like, what from the Bureau, like we're more powerful when we do this together, right? And like being able to bring together like the Cambodian community, the Latinx community, right? Like in these efforts, like that's how we, build this collective power and also show people that like the census is something that matters to all of these communities as well. So yeah, thanks for highlighting that.
I'd like to add on to what Amy was saying and talking about like how collaboration with trusted messengers is so important, so that everybody is represented, so everybody benefits from the federal funding and political representation that we're going to get from the census. And so back in June when it was Pride Month, I've had the chance to try to get LGBTQ plus folks counted. They are totally at stake for the census. Many LGBTQ plus folks are using public assistance programs, and many of them unfortunately are homeless. And with this funding can help so much in providing like affordable housing and giving LGBTQ plus folks like community resources that they need so that they can get out of that situation. However, like the census provides particular barriers for LGBTQ plus folks. When you look at the questionnaire, you see that it's not very representative of the LGBTQ plus population. For example, like the sex question does not include transgender and non-binary identities. As far as like the address questions, many can be confused as far as what to put in there, especially if they are, living in temporary housing or whether they're homeless. And as far as the relationship questions, sometimes that doesn't represent the answers that are provided in the questionnaire. They don't represent LGBTQ plus folks, especially if they're living with like chosen families or whether they're living with like multiple partners and things like that. However, like I'm so glad to have worked with Equality California. Shout out to Jeremy, and being able to address these barriers so that we can let LGBTQ plus folks know that you matter, and that despite all these barriers, it's still important for you to take the census because like me as an LGBTQ plus person and like the community, like they're at stake. Like they are really important, and it's important for them to feel included and for them to be represented and for them to get the funding they need to thrive.
Yeah, and I loved that video too. If you haven't seen it, check it out on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. But it was just like, that actually video was like one of the good examples of like how we had to like pivot. And a lot of folks have like asked me like, what did that look like? Because we were now in this pandemic having to change up a lot of these strategies. And I think that was the interview with Equality California that you were able to do, Christian, was like a really great example of like how we were able to do some of these digital strategies and still get the word out in a way that is like COVID safe and obviously like having to adjust to this new reality. So that was great. Cool. Well, I want to there's been so much, I think that's a really great segue to like all of the things that we've been done as a team and like on this campaign with our partners. What have been some of the high points for y'all in this We Count campaign, like for you personally?
Yeah, I can go ahead and share a little bit about some of the highlights throughout the year that we've been working on the census. And I'm actually going to go ahead and take you through a little photo journey in momentarily. Let me get that started. So yeah, these are actually photos from the beginning of the year. So we pre-COVID, right, in a world before COVID-19, we really were trying to reach the community in fun and festive ways. So we started off in having our regional We Count Los Angeles meeting where we would all of our different regional partners would meet with their like local partners. So it was cross sectors. So different government agencies would meet with us. Different community-based organizations would meet with us. And we would all talk about our strategies in reaching our hard to count communities in our cities, right? We would have a conference in our partners with Advancement Project and all of our different partners in other regions in LA County. And really just share out what are our intentions with our communities? What are the best strategies that we can use to ensure that they are all counted and all engaged in this very important government process? And simultaneously, there's a picture of myself and James where we had to do some gap analysis as well. We have so many partners, but what are some of the areas, some of the geographies, some of the populations that we're not still addressing? And that was such a long process, but it was so much fun. And as well as just going into the community to have conversations with people. So on the upper right corner, you can see that we had created an altar for a Dia de los Muertos event. I think we actually went to 2 different Dia de los Muertos events that day. But really, we had so many conversations with residents of Long Beach talking about the census. They're enjoying their food and drink and music, but also we're talking about, this is going to impact your community for the next 10 years. How can we ensure that your family, your children, your parents, your grandparents are all counted? And then in December and early January, we did a series of 3 different fiestas across North, Central, and West Long Beach. We partnered up with the Interfaith Community Organization, Puente Latino Association, the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition, amongst other partners to really make this a fun event, or a series of 3 fun events for our residents in Long Beach. We did a posada, which isn't really loading, but we did posadas. Children were able to enjoy piñatas with the logo on it. It was such a beautiful event. It was so beautiful to be amongst community members, getting them excited. Folks were playing musical chairs while also learning about the census. And it's really, it was just so encouraging to see that that the energy was there, that folks genuinely did want to learn about how the census will impact their community, and just also hearing them planning to have these conversations with their neighbors across Long Beach. And then COVID hit. The very day that we had a press conference and the day that the census went live, the form itself went live, it seemed like the Los Angeles County was starting to recognize this as a very real emergency. And so the picture from the Long Beach Post is actually us together for the last time before we started to shut down everything. Unfortunately, a lot of the coverage on the news is very COVID centric, but we still managed to overcome all of that by getting very creative with all of the different strategies via social media, on TikTok, having talks on live like this. Shout out to Puente Latino Association for really pioneering the first census caravan in North Long Beach back in March. We had a series of caravans, which Diana will talk about more later on. And then lately, we've also been doing some door hanger drops where we're not necessarily having direct conversations with our residents, but we are still being able to disseminate that information about the importance of getting counted in the 2020 census. And so I still encourage everybody, if you haven't been counted, please get counted. Please reach out to me if you'd still like to participate in the door hanger drops, but I am more than happy to continue sharing on this. Thank you.
Adriana, thank you so much for sharing all those pictures and the videos. There was so part of the team to experience all those fiestas with y'all. I joined right in like March, which was a couple of days before the stay-at-home order was placed. And I never even got to meet my coworkers or go to meet anybody or even work from the office. So a month later or so, we, I think, organized our first caravan, which was a way that we thought would be safe to organize ourselves, still reach out to people like in person and get people counted and inform people that the census is still going on regardless of this like whole pandemic happening. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced a caravan and documented it and been a part of it. And it was honestly such a wonderful experience. I felt like we were in such a like uncertain times, you know, like I know we all got those emails that started like, we're in unprecedented times. Like we were though, it was kind of scary. We didn't know what was happening. And this felt so nice to see the community like coming out to see what's going on. What's all this noise coming down like their street? Because I know we had all these, this really loud speaker, we had music blasting. I'm pretty sure we had Pitbull and some cumbias playing. And I like Amy mentioned earlier, when we had, not only were we speaking English, Spanish, and Khmer. So I thought that it was amazing that we had all those languages available and like blasting through the streets of Long Beach. It was truly such a good experience. And then we went on to do it the second time and it was even better. It was amazing. It was really cool to see people interested. They came out of their house. They like came out and wanted like the shirts and like the prizes that we were giving out. The kids that were so curious about what was happening. It was honestly such a good experience. And you know what? A second high point for me was like last week when we recorded our first TikTok.
Yeah, that was also a high point for me too, because I got to teach Christian how to slap someone. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
That was really fun. Which was we filmed it right after our second door hanger drop, and honestly, that was a really wonderful experience as well. So many volunteers came out shout out to them. They were amazing. And it was awesome to have so many people interested in like volunteering and hanging door hangers around like all these blocks in Long Beach. We were able to cover so much area. And then after that, we filmed our very first TikTok. And if you haven't seen it, it's on every single one of our social media channels. Do check us out. It's a good one. If you want to see James get slapped with a door hanger, check it out.
we have a chat going on too, and so I appreciate Amy's contribution that we are the dream quarantine.
Oh,
honestly, yeah, man. Just you hearing your recap is just so like, it's just like 2020 has been wild, and like and even the photos that Adriana put together, it's like it's wild to think about that photo when we were together at the county supervisor's room, and just like how much has happened since then. Yeah.
We've been through it, yeah.
Well, thank you, Diana. I'm really, and Adriana too, like I'm really curious to hear from y'all, like what have you learned from being part of this campaign and like working on the census too? Just for, I think for me, like my approach with all of this work too is like, this is about movement building and like also supporting you all as like organizers and leaders and just generally awesome people. And so would love to hear what y'all have taken away from this.
Yeah, I can start by saying that for me, I felt that I learned how to be more flexible and like adaptable, like in the situation that we were in. Because before, I know there were more like in-person events, but then when COVID hit, it was like, oh, we gotta shut down everything. And so I remember thinking at first, I was like, oh shoot, like what are we gonna do now? Like literally all of our events were canceled. But then I remember seeing like when we met like a week or two later, that's when we started like re-strategizing our efforts like right away and thinking more about like how can we engage more online to reach our audience and to reach those who need to take the census. And I'm just so proud of our team for all of us being able to do that and like implementing those changes like right away. I felt like for me, I learned some like comm stuff, and like I'm just so happy that I have those skills on hand with everything that's going on. And so now I feel more comfortable in being able to have like an online presence and like be able to think behind the scenes on like, okay, what's the caption going to be, where the what am I going to put on like the picture and things like that. And with COVID-19, considering the uncertainty of COVID-19, I mean, we're not sure how long this is going to last, and we're not sure how long we're going to have to keep doing things online. So it's like, oh, might as well have the skills now just in case this takes a little bit. Despite COVID-19, it's still important for the census to be promoted and other things going on as well. So
yeah, you could like literally put just like I thrived in COVID-19 on your resume, and you're like good to go. You're set.
honestly,
yeah. Honestly, since my work consists of just social media, digital outreach, with just this whole pandemic, my work became even more important. And there was kind of like the moment I joined the team, there was like no chill. It was like we changed completely like all our strategies, because there was no way to safely host any events or like reach out to people in person. So we had to change all of that and do it through digital outreach and just expanding and like changing our strategies. And then came the fact that we had to make all this content accessible to everybody and make sure that we were able to reach everybody, that all these hard to count like communities in our community. And that's been such a priority, and it's been on my mind. I know that we definitely have some work to do. I personally think that we could have done we did the best we could based on like the resources we currently have, but it's been on my mind. I know how the importance of making digital content accessible to people, especially during a time where you can only reach out safely to them digitally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that's really what I learned the importance of during this whole campaign. And I'm excited for our next one where we can even be even more accessible, multiple languages, and all of that.
All the
Yeah.
things. That's so cool. Well, thanks y'all for sharing. And I guess just to kind of close out as we kind of wrap up this conversation, and we're in the Census Week of Action. We know we've made a lot of progress. I feel like Diana, you might know the response rates better than I right now, because we've been doing some graphics and stuff. But we're pushing a little over this 60% in Long Beach, and we have more work to be done to get people counted. And so that's what we're really hoping this Week of Action does, and encourages folks to get counted. So what would you all say to someone who hasn't been counted yet, or maybe they don't see the value in the census?
I just want to say right now, Long Beach is at a 62.2%.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because LA County in general right now is at a 59%. So we're doing it, y'all. We're getting people counted. I do want to say, as I learned more about the census, as I joined this campaign, I realized that the census really isn't perfect. I don't think it represents accurately everybody who needs to be counted, whether it's the race question or the sexual orientation question. But I think regardless, it's important to answer it to the best of our abilities, because it will affect us whether we get counted or not. That money affects us personally, our family, our friends, and our community. So I know it's not perfect, and I think it needs a lot of work. And hopefully 10 years from now, when we all have to take it again, we're all working on another census campaign, we're not dealing with the same imperfections that it has. So I really think it's important to get counted regardless of that, because you matter even if you don't see yourself accurately represented on that census.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And I also wanted to add, the impacts of the census, as messy as this administration and this whole past 4 years has been, the impacts of the census locally they're gonna last longer than the effects of this administration. And so that's really the silver lining in all of this. Access to these programs that address low-income people, like Head Start, better access to services, like all of these things are so important at the moment, and planning ahead for the next 10 years is gonna make all the difference. And so I really encourage folks to please get counted.
Yeah, and then just to add on, there's multiple ways to get counted. You could do it online, you can call, or you can even mail out the form. But if you don't want someone to go knock on your door and beg you to fill out the census, just fill it out. You have a few weeks to fill it out before people start going and knocking on doors.
I think one thing that a lot of people don't fully see when thinking about the census is the effects it has on political representation. In past census experiences, states and counties, they've literally lost or gained House of Representative seats because of the census. And so it's especially important at this time to take it, because if Long Beach gets undercounted, if County of LA gets undercounted, we could potentially lose a seat. And that severely affects us in the way our county is represented. And there is that fear that we won't be able to receive the resources that we need for low-income communities and other minority communities to thrive. So I really stress the importance of the census because of political representation.
Anything you want to add, Melissa?
I love that this team used so many creative ways to teach people about the census and to have fun with it, because it sounded like it was such a boring task. And you all have really brought a lot of life to it. And I want to thank all of our partners regionally who've helped to make this happen so that everybody could get counted. The census, I was looking at the census, one of the census web pages, and it is like America's selfie. And we are in that moment where we get to take a picture, a snapshot of who is our community. I was thinking, if you ever had a lottery ticket that was a winning lottery ticket, you would want to go cash in and get that money, right? So taking the census, spending the 10 minutes to answer the 10 questions that will impact your neighborhood for the next 10 years, it's worth it. It's worth cashing in, spending that time, to really be able to make a better future for you and your family.
Thanks, y'all. I mean, and the last thing I would echo everything y'all said, and something I've like continually come back to in conversations with folks too is like we all want to belong to something, right? And I think that's like the running thread between a lot of our work, whether we're touching civic engagement work on the census, or we're talking about housing justice, or we're talking about trying to defund the police and all these different things, right? Like we want to be part of something bigger, and because we know that the problems are bigger than just us ourselves. And for me, like the census is that one piece where we can start to be part of something bigger when we go in our communities and we know places are underfunded, or we know places are under-resourced, and we can say like, I'm being part of a solution to try and address that, right? And we know we're realistic too that the census isn't going to solve everything, but it is a starting point for us to really get people engaged in that, and for those long-term efforts. And I love the way, like Adriana, you mentioned that like it's even just beyond just the next couple of years, right? This is going to have huge impacts. And so it's I feel like you all have shown us how like empowering this can be too. And I think the work with like our partners and like the individual outreach that we've been able to do is just so like, this is what it means to like build this community and come together around it. So thank you all. This has been so much fun. And just like my cancer sign self reliving all these memories has been fun for the past 30 minutes. So I really enjoyed that. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Melissa to close this out.
Yeah, so please, if you haven't completed the census, it's really easy to do. It is secure, it's private, it's safe. All the information is confidential. And if you should ask your family members, your friends, your neighbors, if they've done it as well. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can respond online at my2020census.gov. Go right there to my2020census.gov. Give yourself a good 10 minutes. In between a Zoom call, or when you have a downtime moment and you're not homeschooling your kid during the pandemic right now. We want you to really stay involved with our campaign. Continue to follow us on our social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, on Twitter as well at MoveLB and use the hashtags, #WeCountLA and LBCounts2020, or search for those hashtags to learn a little bit more about what has been happening with the census. You could also fill out the census by getting support on the phone. You can call 1-800-923-8282. That's 1-800-923-8282. Or if you found your census paperwork at home, fill it out. Otherwise, there will be people coming and knocking on your door very soon to make sure that we're counted. In the past, people of color, immigrants, and children were often left out and are often not likely to be counted. So this is our time. It's really important for us to take this seriously. So again, the website, my2020census.gov. Stay tuned. Also, for our next event, we're going to be holding on Saturday, August the 8th. If you'd like to get involved and help to deliver door hangers with our team, meet our crew. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Amy, Adriana, Christian, and James. You all have really rocked it and shown Long Beach that we do count.
Oh, awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us, and go get counted. Have a great rest of your day. Do something fun this weekend that's still COVID safe. Bye.